What if I told you the most valuable real estate on Earth isn't in New York, London, or Tokyo? It's a block of ice 3 times the size of Texas. To the naked eye, Greenland looks empty. But peel back the ice, and you don't just find rock. You find the future of the global economy. The superpowers aren't just watching Greenland, they are already fighting over it. And the scary part? The reason why is buried deep underground, and it affects every single person watching this video right now. Stick around for number 5, because that's where the ice melts, and the real war begins. Welcome back to Top Tenz. Today we're heading to the top of the planet, Greenland. For most of history, Greenland was treated like a blank white space on the map. But now, it's becoming the kind of place that makes governments, billion-dollar companies, and militaries start moving pieces quietly. Why? Because Greenland sits at the intersection of ice, resources, and power. Let's count down the top 10 things you didn't know and absolutely need to know about Kala Alit Nunat, the Inuit name for Greenland. Let's start with number 10, the name because even Greenland's identity began with marketing. This branding genius goes back to the 10th century with Eric the Red, a Viking who got exiled from Iceland after a violent dispute. He sails west, finds this massive land, and realizes something. If he wants settlers, he can't sell them Ice Nightmare Island. So he calls it Greenland, and according to the historical tradition, he openly believed people would be more willing to move there if it had a good name. Now here's the twist. Parts of southern Greenland actually can look green in summer. Short grasses, valleys, grazing areas. So it wasn't 100% lie, but overall, Greenland's story starts with illusion, and that theme never really goes away. At number 9, Greenland is caught between two worlds. Geographically, Greenland is North American, right beside Canada. The Inuit culture in Greenland is deeply connected to Inuit communities across the Arctic in Canada and Alaska. But politically, Greenland is tied to Europe because it's an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark. So Greenland is basically a North American landmass run through a European political system. And that creates tension, because when you're physically part of one continent but governed from another, your identity becomes a constant negotiation. Number 8 is something people cannot process until they see it. Greenland is huge, about the size of Western Europe, yet there are basically no roads connecting towns. So if you live in Nuuk and want to visit someone in Ilulissat, you're not driving. You're flying, boating, or taking a long ferry route, depending on season and weather. Why no roads? Because Greenland's coast is carved into deep fjords, mountains, and ice. Building highways across that terrain would be like trying to pave a road across a broken glass bottle in freezing temperatures. While the ground shifts. Travel in Greenland isn't commuting, it's logistics. At number 7, Greenland's traditional diet is survival mode cuisine. For most of Greenland's history, farming was limited. The environment is harsh, seasons are extreme, and growing vegetables wasn't always realistic. So the traditional diet leaned heavily on hunting and fishing. Seal, fish, whale, and muskox. The famous one, matak, raw whale skin with a layer of blubber. It's not just food, it's nutrition and tradition. Historically, it helped provide vitamins in a place where citrus doesn't grow. Today, there are modern supermarkets with imported food, but imports are expensive and country food is still central to identity. Number 6 sounds like science fiction, but it's real. During the Cold War, Greenland wasn't just a frozen island, it was a strategic chessboard. The US built a base in the far north, historically called Thule Air Base, now renamed Pituffik Space Base. But the truly wild story is Camp Century, a US facility built inside the Greenland ice sheet in 1959. Public story? Arctic research. Hidden purpose? It was linked to Project Iceworm, a plan exploring tunnels under the ice for military uses. The problem? Ice moves, glaciers shift, the tunnels began to deform. Camp Century was abandoned in 1967. And here's the modern fear. As the ice melts, remnants and waste left behind could eventually be exposed. NASA has even published new radar-based looks at the buried structures. All right, this is the one. Stay with me. Because number 5 is where Greenland stops being a cold place and becomes a future power switch. Everyone keeps asking, why would anybody want Greenland? Here's why: rare earth elements and other critical minerals. These are the materials used in smartphones and electronics, wind turbines, electric vehicles, medical tech, and yes, military systems. Now, the surprise isn't just that Greenland has deposits. The surprise is this: Greenland could become a strategic alternative supply. But mining there is so hard that right now, the island is basically a locked treasure chest. Greenland has extreme weather, limited ports, limited roads, and huge infrastructure costs. Even when mineral deposits exist, turning them into real production is a different story. Add this complication: some deposits are tied up with environmental concerns and radioactive byproducts like uranium, so even inside Greenland, there's political division about whether the money is worth the risk. So when people say Greenland is the key, they mean if Greenland ever cracks the code on mining plus processing plus infrastructure, it could shift global supply politics. Number 4 is the moment the world realized Greenland wasn't just a frozen rock, it was a strategic prize. And here's the twist: this story didn't end in 2019. It escalated. You remember the 2019 moment? Trump floating the idea of buying Greenland, Denmark calling it absurd, everybody laughing. But fast forward to January 2026, and this is no longer comedy. Reports say Trump is reviving the Greenland acquisition push, and it's tied to hard power politics. Tariff threats on Denmark and other European countries unless the US is allowed to purchase Greenland. And it gets even wilder. The White House has publicly acknowledged Trump's team is discussing options for acquiring Greenland, framing it as a national security priority in the Arctic. So the takeaway isn't, haha, he tried to buy an island. The takeaway is this: when leaders start attaching real economic pressure to a place like Greenland, it's a sign the Arctic isn't just cold geography anymore, it's becoming a front line. And that brings us to why Greenland is priceless even without a purchase. The military and space surveillance footprint already there. And if you think that is crazy, wait until number 3 and number 2, because Greenland isn't just a location, it's a warning system for the future. At number 3, Greenland is not just sitting still under Denmark. Greenland gained home rule in 1979 and expanded self-government in 2009. Today, Greenland runs major internal affairs, like many domestic policies, and has its own political direction. But Greenland still receives a large annual block grant from Denmark. And the big debate is, how do you become fully independent without crashing the economy? And yes, people connect that back to number 5, because if resource development becomes viable, some see it as a path to financial independence. Number 2 is the most pressing issue of our time. Greenland is ground zero. The Greenland ice sheet is colossal. It's 3 times the size of Texas and up to 2 miles thick. And it is melting at a terrifying rate, much faster than models predicted even 10 years ago. In the summer of 2019 alone, it lost 600 billion tons of ice. That's enough water to cover the entire state of California in 4 feet of water. Why does this matter to you? Because if the whole ice sheet melts, global sea levels will rise by over 20 feet. Goodbye Miami, goodbye Mumbai, goodbye Shanghai. What happens in Greenland does not stay in Greenland. And finally, the number one thing to know about Greenland is the sheer mind-bending scale of its emptiness. Greenland is the 12th largest country area in the world. It's bigger than Mexico. And yet, its entire population is roughly 56,000 people. That's it. You could fit the entire population of Greenland inside a decent-sized football stadium. That makes it the least densely populated territory on the entire planet. There is virtually zero light pollution, silence that rings in your ears, and wilderness that has never felt a human footstep. It is vast, isolated, and incredibly vulnerable. From Viking scams to Cold War secrets, and from rare earth riches to climate catastrophe, Greenland is no longer just a white spot on the map. It's the center of the world's attention. What do you think? Should Greenland mine its resources for independence or keep the Arctic pristine? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this icy deep dive, smash that like button, subscribe to Top 10's channel, and ring the bell so you never miss a countdown. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.